made top 8, and I remember we were sitting around for the player meeting, and I was like, what do we do? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, I've never been here before. I'm just happy to be here. You know what I mean? Like, just very like, haha, like.
Now, when people make this comments, I'm just like, yeah, okay, you think that, but I'm still gonna kick your butt.
About 3 weeks later, I ended up earning a second Enchanted Elsa in another tournament. And so I became the Enchanted Elsa Queen of New England.
If they ever start doing more competitive multiplayer, that will be my villain origin story.
I don't know, it felt like it was been a bit sneaky and I wasn't about that vibe.
Just let that fuel you. Spite and Lorcana, and that's how I win. Yeah, he like comes back after not seeing her, and the first thing he says is, what do you need?
What do you need?
Oh.
There's something just super warming about that moment.
Write this down.
Yes.
Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we've got another group podcast. I am joined by 4 wonderful women in the Lorcana community. This is a really long episode, so this intro is going to be really short and sweet. A shout out to the channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, including the new Arcasia's Island, then check out Cardmarket. But this was such a good talk. It's a really long episode. Please show it some love. Let's have a chat with the girls. And as promised, usually I am the villain of this lair, but today I am simply a magic mirror because we got queens in the lair. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 of a kind up in here. Welcome all 4 of you. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to start off, I'm sure plenty of people watching may already recognise some of your faces, but for those of the people in the audience who don't know who you are, maybe they're brand new to Lorcana, I've got a bunch of questions that I'd like you to answer just to introduce yourselves and give the viewers an idea of sort of who you are in the community. So those questions are who you are, your TCG experience before Lorcana, if any, maybe Lorcana is your first TCG, how long you've been playing Lorcana, which DLCs or set championships that you've played in, and you can note any achievements that you've had in that time, and what ink combination would you call your pet deck? So 5 questions there to just give us an early impression of you all. And we're going to start off with the lady in the Forbidden Mountain jumper. Welcome, Melissa. Please tell us who you are. Tell us your story.
Hello, I'm Melissa, also known as TFM LizardKitty. Lorcana is my first TCG. I am a huge Disney adult, Disnerd, whatever Disney nerdy comment you'd like to call me. I know Rebekah can definitely relate to that. I got into the game as soon as it came out, so August 2023. I, among many others, was at Gen Con, was stuck in the chaos, got pushed and shoved a lot.
I bet.
But the cool thing about being there was, even though I didn't get into the tournament, I did get into a learn to play. So I got to do a learn to play that weekend and really get to learn foundation and basics of TCG and Lorcana, and kind of got hooked in ever since then. I was very fortunate and was able to attend all 6 North American DLCs, which was very exciting.
Cool.
I was top 128 in both Chicago and Fort Worth. Now, the unfortunate thing about Chicago is that because it was a 1K tournament, only top 64 got a Let It Go. So I was determined after that one to hit the 128 mark again and get a Let It Go, which I did earn at the next DLC in Fort Worth.
Let's go.
Lots of set chance experience, played in kind of as many as I could, from Inklands, Ursula's Return, Shimmering Skies, and Azurite Sea. Some playmats in there, some cards, kind of all that fun jazz. And pet decks is always a fun one. I'm an Amethyst lover at heart. Ruby Amethyst was kind of my first, I'd say, meta deck. The very first deck I picked up was Amethyst Emerald. At the time with Cusco, was really fun during set 1.
Yeah.
But Azurite, or 1 through 3, I played Ruby Amethyst. Then I kind of took a little bit of a tour and played a little bit of everything. Before the end of 4, 5, and 6, I was playing a lot of Amber Steel, and 4 and 5. And then in set 6, I started off with Amber Steel and then pivoted to Amethyst Steel and kind of went back to my home of Amethyst.
Let's move on next to Colour, or Colour is Law, or there is another nickname that you go by, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it to you, but welcome. Tell us who you are. Tell us your story.
Hi, I am Colorislaw, or Color, or as some in the community, call me by a different name. And if you know, you know. I played Commander actually before this for maybe a year. So my kind of like experience came from Magic the Gathering, but not just so my best friend decided that I needed to play Magic, and he kept asking me for years, and I was like, no. And then they came out with a D&D set, and it got me. And so I played for about a year playing Commander, and it's like it's a multiplayer format, and I hated it. And every time we played Limited, I was like, wait a minute, like this is good. Like I like it's just us and the cards, and it's 1v1, and I beat you and you beat me, and we're done. Like there's no politics. We don't have to talk about our feelings. Like that was good. And then I realized I was a super competitive person. So then actually, I think it was Gen Con, they were spoiling all the enchanteds. Is that when everybody was like kind of, yeah. So like I was at work on my phone, just like, wait a minute, like this and this. And then I saw Hades, the Amber one from set 1. And I was like, I'm playing this game. This is going to be my new personality. We're here forever. And just like the flavor and the graveyard recursion and everything, I was like, okay, this game, it seems good. So then Pixelborn and everything, and just kind of grinding through it. And yeah, so I have not played Magic since Lorcana came out. So
it's amazing how many people I speak to that say that exact thing, which is whatever game they were playing beforehand, Magic the Gathering, whatever it was, they haven't picked it up since starting Lorcana. It seems to be a trend. And what's your favorite deck to play, or what would you call your pet deck?
So I guess I would say for the most part, Ruby Amethyst is kind of it's always my deck. Beginning of set, it kind of struggles, and then I'll play red blue for a while, and
get depressed.
Yeah, just kind of. Maybe not this set. Like Sapphire's looking pretty strong.
That's a different story.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I would say, but for the most part, I guess it's just Ruby cards, I guess, is my...
Ruby cards.
my preference.
Next up, we have Allie Sweete. Welcome. For me and you, it's nearly 11 p.m. at time of recording on Friday night. The audience won't be seeing this until probably Sunday or Monday, but we're recording this on, not Friday night, Thursday evening for me and Ali. It's super late, so thank you for joining me. Super grateful. Please tell us who you are and tell us your story.
I'm Ali. A lot of people probably know me better as Harlan Sweet's girlfriend. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Tabletop probably about 10 years ago, only for like a year, and I haven't touched TCG since then, until my friend got into Lorcana, and she was like, I bought 3 starter decks, they sent me 2 of the same one, here, have this, and handed me the Sapphire Steel starter deck from the first chapter. Cool. Didn't play any Lorcana then until she messaged me again saying, oh, I'm going to Set Champs. It's in your area, do you want to come with me? And me, being completely naive, was like, yeah, sure, I'll go, I'll have fun. Having not played Lorcana at all until this Set Champs. Obviously came last, but had a great time. And then I've not done any DLCs. I've played a lot of Set Champs for Set 6, is that what we're on now? Won a Scar Mat, so I'm very happy with that.
I'm jealous. I didn't get a Scar Mat. I am Scar Matless. Yeah. So well done.
Yeah, I was very, very proud of that. And my favourite deck to play is Sapphire Steel, just because that's what I got given, and I've just adapted it a lot since then. But I'm now trying out Purple Steel. I'm branching out a bit, but Sapphire Steel will always be my favourite. Love
that. No, I talked to Harlan a fair bit, and he's always and I'm not just being a bro here when I say he's always what's the expression? Shouting your praises and your improvement of the game. And like I saw across set 6 set championship, that's hard to say, set 6 set championship season, the photos that you were sharing of like the success that you were having, like I don't think it was just one scar, Matt, right? Like you were topping, you topped quite a few, right?
I've got 3.
Yeah, Slay Queen, go off! Like let's hear it.
Nice.
But that's fantastic, and like it's interesting as well. You say you got handed the set 1 starter deck, but then didn't play until first set champs, which was set 3. Into the Inklands was first set championships.
It was set 5 set champs that I went to. So I only started in, like, October.
So even longer. So you're sort of a new player. Like you were kind of on board from the beginning, but it's more recent that you've been playing more consistently and at a competitive level, which is awesome. That's what we want to hear, that more people are coming into the game all the time. So there you go, a breakdown of these wonderful ladies, members of the community, players. But of course, we have to go over to your favourite caster, my favourite caster. We have Rebekah Quests up in here. Welcome. We were saying before recording that, believe it or not, this is mine and Rebekah's first time actually being face to face, as close like
in the same virtual room.
Yes, exactly. Which is weird because obviously I've watched all the DLCs, I've seen you as a guest on the Illuminateers and things like that. But we're like ships in the night, Rebekah. We cross in the night, and I'm hopeful one day that we'll be in the same room together. Wouldn't that be a thing? But for now, we're in the same Discord call, so let's take advantage of it. But for those of you who don't, those of you at home that don't know who this is, please tell us your story.
Yeah, so I'm Rebekah Quests, and I do have a little bit of other TCG experience. Like this is gonna date me. You're gonna know how old I am, but I played when I was a teenager in like the 90s, when Magic very, very, very first came out. My parents started playing, and so I learned how to play Magic. But it was just very casually. I played with, the boys at school. None of the other girls played, and with my family at home. But I didn't touch it for years and years and years. And when my son was old enough to start learning how to play, like around like 8 or so, I had like broke out my old Magic cards and taught him like very basics. And he wasn't like super into it. He would play sometimes. But when I saw Lorcana come out, I'm a big Disney fan as well, Melissa. And so I was like, oh, wait. Okay, a Disney game that is also kind of like Magic the Gathering. This is amazing. And then also I was just really excited about introducing it to my son, who is now a teenager, and having something that we could do together. And he jumped on board with me. I started playing right when the game first came out in, August, September of 23. And then I started making content because I was so excited about the game, and grew my platform over on Instagram for the most part. And so I have been lucky enough to go to all of the North American DLCs as part of the broadcast team and doing commentary. And it's been an amazing journey with Lorcana this first year and a half of the game. I've had so much fun being at those huge events, of course, not as a player. I have played in some set championships. I have not yet won myself a fancy card, but that's, someday. But one of the things that I really enjoy is actually supporting my son in his competitive journey and watching him grow. And he has done really well at set championships. So that's been really cool. So it's kind of like Disney Lorcana is my thing, but also it's something that I share really with him. And so my journey is also about what he's doing. It's like we're in this together as mother and son, which is really cool.
That's I can't imagine how meaningful that must be to share that with your son, these experiences that you've gotten to have. I can relate in terms of my mum, but like, that's a very different sort of thing. Like, my mum doesn't play Lorcana. She's not up in the DLCs. Lucky for you lot. But no, like to share that with your son, I can imagine is an incredible thing. And no, I'm such a big fan of yours, Rebekah. I have been from the very beginning. I think you do a wonderful job at all the DLCs, whether you're casting, whether you're doing the interviews and doing like the more hosting and presenting sort of stuff. I think you're such a great representative for the community to have up there. And I love your content, like your Instagram reels. It's all very super chill, super light-hearted stuff that I think everyone, whether you're a super competitive player, you can relate to it, or whether you're a super casual player that isn't necessarily in the game like, because you want to be the most competitive person in the room. That isn't every Lorcana player, and that's super important to put an emphasis on. So I'm grateful for you being in the community, and yeah, like, keep on keeping on. But yeah, a wonderful set of girls that we have here. It is my genuine pleasure, and I'm going to move us straight on because we've got a few topics to talk about, and I want to take advantage of having you all here and get your perspectives and your thoughts on a variety of things. So let's start off on goals and achievements. So I'd like to ask you, what has been the most significant or meaningful moment of your Lorcana career thus far? And please answer this approach this from any angle you like, whether you want to speak as a player, something like from a competitive standpoint that you were super proud of, or whether it's just something that's like a community moment and something that you were proud to be involved in, like with friends or whatever it is. So we'll go in the same order from Mel and same order. So yeah, what would you say is your most significant or meaningful moment of your Lorcana career?
So I think the most significant that I'd want to talk about was probably the first tournament that I won. Like I had just mentioned before, like I've never played a TCG before Lorcana. I didn't quite understand how the game played in the beginning, as much as like, oh, you're turning your cards sideways, you're trying to gain lore, but then there's this challenging aspect, and like it's so much more complex than that. But when you don't know basics, it's really hard to grasp that. And so a few weeks in, I played in a tournament by my house. It was Win and Enchanted, and my boyfriend Ben and I were like, okay, we're gonna go and we're just gonna see what happens. Spoiler, I got whooped. I did horrible. Like, thought I knew what I was doing. I played the green purple deck. It was fine, but there were people who were magic grinders, like big sweaty dudes, like who were here because they wanted to win it all. And I learned what it was like to sit in a room of competitive players. A month or two later, I went to PAX Unplugged, and that was where Ravensburger was doing their kind of first tournament. Some of you might remember that Dave Pendergast, also known as Pave, won at that tournament playing flutes, and that was like the start of flutes because nobody thought that flutes were going to be competitive. I did decent in that tournament, but again, like I'm small fish in a big pond. I feel very intimidated. So that was, I think, December. And then in early March, I went to SCG Philly. SCG is run by Star City Games. They, in the US, do a bunch of Magic tours, like they're known for Magic, Pokemon, etc. And they were running Lorcana, and so we decided to go and just get competitive experience. I went into it very much as okay, I'm going to play with big dogs. I'm going to learn what I'm doing, kind of sit in a room of more than 15 people and play. I did mediocre. Spoiler, I paired into TFM Dan twice, and he beat me one time, and we split one time. So that was fun. Among other really top players, I did decent. The next week in my locals, they were running an Enchanted Elsa tournament. And I was like, okay, I've been to big tournaments. I know how to play the game. Like, I watched Dan, I watched Rob Serpay, I watched George, I watched all these other people top tournaments, win tournaments. Like, what can I learn from observing and try to apply this? And it wasn't as much about playing the game as things such as inking face up so that you know you've inked for turn, and kind of communicating as you go, which was really cool. And so I go into the tournament and I said, I'm playing Ruby Amethyst because it's set 3. That's my deck. And I go into it, and first round I pair my boyfriend Ben. And I'm like, great. I don't even get to play the game because I get to play the person I play all the time. We play, I end up winning, which was cool. I go into round 2, I end up winning. Then I end up going X2 in the tournament, and I get the 8th seed. So I'm like, hey, I'm in top cut. Like, this is already an achievement. This is great.
Yeah, sure.
I then pair into, in the top 8, the first seed, and it was the person who beat me round 3.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going into it on the draw. The guy's playing Mufasa, Ruby Mufasa, and I'm playing Ruby Amethyst. So it's a fine matchup in Inkland's meta, but it's not great.
No.
I end up winning 2-1 on the draw. I feel great. Now I made top 4. So like already just feeling very positive. Then I pair into this girl, Emily, who I played earlier in the tournament. She was my other loss of the day. She was playing discard, Emerald, Steel, Bucky was not in the, or sorry, Bucky was in the game, but like wasn't very popular. But Diablo didn't exist yet because it's Inkland's meta. But still not a great matchup. I end up winning again 2-1 on the draw, and I'm like, wow, like I'm on a roll here. I pair into the finals against this guy who, like, he's a very good local player, and he's kind of the scariest guy in the room. Like, he's not rude, he's just very good at cards. And he is playing Emerald Amethyst, like super speedy aggro. And I go, oh, okay, this will be a fine matchup. Again, I'm on the draw because I was 8th seed, and we end up going to a third game, and I end up squeaking a win out. And all of a sudden, I have an Enchanted Elsa in my hand.
That's awesome.
So it wasn't as much about like, hey, I won, as much as I learned to play the game and navigate through like a sea of people who have beat me. And it really gave me kind of like a strike of, okay, if I want to play the game competitively, I can do it.
I have what it takes. Yeah, you proved to yourself that you belonged in the room. Like, you already knew, but you need.
Yes.
It's nice to have the evidence, right? It's nice to have that. Okay, like I feel redeemed by this, or whatever word you want to use. So that's super awesome, and you got an Enchanted Elsa out of it, which is a pretty good prize as far as prizes go. So that's awesome.
Spoilers, real quick. About 3 weeks later, I ended up earning a second Enchanted Elsa in another tournament, and so I became the Enchanted Elsa Queen of New England. And so it's like a whole thing.
Look at this girl hoarding all the Enchanted Elsas. That's why I can't get one. You've got them all.
That's where they all went. Yeah.
That's where they're all in
Melissa has
Melissa's
them all.
cupboard.
What was it? I saw somebody say at one point, they were like, oh, in the time it took you to read this, Melissa won another Enchanted.
Yeah.
It's like...
Technically, we're up to 3 because we got a box of Japan and we pulled a Japanese Elsa, and I may or may not have shrieked. Not quite as excited as you were when you found out there was going to be a Radigan Enchanted, but I was very excited.
Yeah, that certainly happened. What an awesome story. Colour, same question to you. What would you say is the most significant or meaningful moment of your Lorcana career so far?
So I noticed that when we were talking before, I forgot to talk about my set champs and DLC stuff.
Yes, please do.
And
let's hear about it.
so I was like, I have some cards. No. So yeah, I went to Atlanta, and I actually did extremely well. I mean, I played Emerald Amethyst, which I shouldn't have, but like, you know, an hour before I was like, I'm gonna play this deck. Got to my last round, I needed to 2-0, so we played, and it was actually a local person here in Florida. And we played, they beat me, that's fine. But they invited me to the local store that I actually go to now. And they were like, it's a really competitive environment. I think you'll super like it, you know, especially if you're locally playing, you know, more casual people. I think like you'll fit in really well. And that's actually how I ended up beating like Humble and R&B and everybody like that. But so that was Atlanta. I went to Vegas. I got top 16 in a side event. Yeah, I like looked down the table and I was like, oh, like that's table 1 and I'm right here. Yeah, so I went. I started out 0-2. Like I just got 0-2'd immediately, like that day, and I was like, just like flip the table, I'm done. And then, you know, but just like the rest of the day, I was like, I just keep winning. Is this supposed to happen? So that was good. And then I went to Seattle, and I honestly, I just paired into Purple Steel aggro two games, like immediately, like round 1, round 2, Purple Steel aggro, and I was playing Sapphire Ruby. So okay. that was a rough one.
Good for
but
you.
No, it was not. But still had fun though. It was definitely a fun one. But yeah, set champs. I've gotten cards. You know, I've been able to play in all of them. I bubbled out of the Stitch every single time, and that's because I was in a room with you know, Humble and R&B and DeCandio, and I didn't know who they were at the time, but I was wondering why I kept bubbling, and it was because I was
you were in a room with some of the best players in the world.
I was like, I don't understand. It's like I keep getting like 9th exactly. How is this happening? And it's like, oh, because yeah,
that's why.
Ridiculous people in the room. But I did end up getting Ursula actually won the set champ at the store that I was invited to from Atlanta.
Nice.
And so I did win an Ursula, and then, you know, like I was like, DeCandio got 3rd, stars. You know what I mean? So it was like, I was like, that is like a crowning achievement. But then I got a Mirabelle, and then I ended up getting like a couple stuck R's, and I got a mat too. So
someone else in this call that's got a star mat, and I don't.
Not as many as Allie, but
I think
that's
you
awesome,
have
though.
a lot tougher competition where you are than I do. But
you have like you make wallpaper with your scars, though. You're so
So you're quite experienced when it comes to competitive Lorcana already. Is there a singular moment that you would put down as like was a real achieving moment for you, something that you were super proud of?
The SCG Con, I guess. I was actually talking to, I don't know if you guys know, but Bonnie B Designs. She's local to me as well. And amazing altars and artists. And she's I mean,
great work.
Incredible. She's an actual angel. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. So I think it was one of those days, and I saw that they were having the SCG Con, and so I messaged her. I was like, "Hey, do you want to go on an adventure?" Like, and she was like, "Absolutely, let's go." So we grabbed our decks and we decided to go. And we get there, and there is like again, I walk in and I was like, "This room is so stacked. Like, why are we here?" Like half of like the, at the time lab people were there, and I was just like, I'm gonna play this deck and see what happens. And I just kind of kept winning. And so by the end of it, I was like standing around and like, I was standing there, and this is the first time I ever met No I'm Not, which is Kindle. So I bought his guide the set before. And that's how I won set champs, was because of Kendall's guide. And here I am standing next to him and like waiting to find out what top seed is and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, like okay, sure. This is fine. This is totally fine. So made top 8. And I remember we were sitting around for the player meeting, and I was like, what do we do? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I've never been here before. And they're like passing out paperwork and stuff. And I was like, I'm just happy to be here. You know what I mean? Like, just very like, haha, like, and it was like kind of a really weirdly surreal experience, because my last round in Swiss was hyper aggro.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing Ruby Sapphire, and I sit down, and I was like, I am doomed. Like, if I lose this, like, I don't get into top 8, and it's Ruby Sapphire, and he's playing hyper aggro. Like, we're the natural enemy, And I 2-0'd him. And I wasn't even graceful about it. Immediately just like stood up and was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, and then I turned around and it's like, like everybody was like standing behind me, and I was like, like, so cool. I ended up only getting to top 4 in that tournament, because my first opponent was Amber Steel, and it was a 2-1 game, and I was on the play, and it was a great game. It was a really, really good game. He got to 19 in game 3, and I was at 0, and I did what Ruby Sapphire does to Amber Steel, and just kind of answer. So I was like, holy crap, I'm in top 4 now. Like, I was freaking out. And I get paired against Kendall. And that set with, like, you kind of have a chance with, like, Ruby Amethyst versus, like, Ruby Sapphire, Like, you could skill diff a little bit. You can't skill diff Kendall. So I decided to just sit across from him, and, like, R&B was right here. And I'm like already in my head about it. So I panic mulliganed to brick myself 2 games in a row.
Nice.
And yeah, absolutely. Just like, I drew my cards, and then I looked at like Ryan, and then I showed Ryan my cards, and he just died laughing. And every card off the top of my deck, I would just like show him, and we were just like hysterically laughing. And Kindle was like great, and he just like plops down like a ton of locations, because that's what he does, And so I was like, okay, well, I can't beat all of the real estate that you have, so let's go to game 2. And he just did it again, and I bricked again. And but it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, hold on, like, I'm sitting across from Kendall, and I'm sitting over here, and this is R&B, and like, I'm at this table that like maybe I'm okay at this game, and this is like something that I want to continue doing is being okay at this game. And So yeah, it was like one of those things where like kind of like what Moose was saying is like prove to myself like I can play this game and I can do it at a high level, and if I am lucky enough to surround myself with players like this, I might actually play it at an even higher level. So see what can happen with that.
No, for sure. Like, what a fantastic group of people to have around you to challenge you and sort of iron sharpens iron sort of thing. And over to you now, Allie Sweete. Again, a relatively newer player in the game. But if you could pinpoint a moment that you're very, very proud of, again, and this can be as a player or just from a community standpoint, whatever's meaningful to you, basically. Is there a moment that you could tell us about?
I think for me, it was probably when I won the set champs and got my first Scar mat, because it was at my local store that I go to like every Friday, and usually on league night I come either last, second to last. I'm always right at the bottom, so I wasn't expecting much of it. We did like 2 set champs every weekend, so on the day before I'd come 11th, and I was already like immensely proud of that because I was in like at least the top half of people, and that just wasn't a thing for me before. So I was unbelievably proud of myself. And then we went to one the next day, and my first pairing was the guy who'd won the set champs the day before. So I was like immediately in my head like, okay, I've not got this. He 2-0'd me. It was fine. I was like, okay, we move on. We have fun. And then somehow I got into the top, and then I remember from my top 4 game, when I won that, I like had to go step outside for a second because I was like, I can't believe I've done this. Like, this doesn't happen to me. Like, I'm usually at the bottom. And then yeah, somehow won the whole thing. Immensely proud of myself, and yeah, I don't think anything will top that feeling now of how I felt then after going from like the bottom to the top. It was good.
That's the best stories, you know, when it's really one extreme to the other and you can really see the difference in how far you've come. Did you get to face that same guy again in the top cut and beat him?
Yeah, he was actually my last game in the top 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. You lose to someone and it's like, okay, all right, I'll see you again, sunshine. And then you pair into them again in the finals and take them down.
Yeah, and then I actually paired into him again in the finals of another set champs.
And this time he was the one that was going, it's over. I'm done. I'm cooked.
It's probably the fact that like you just get so in your head that somebody beat you and you're like, no, I'm just coming for revenge. And then it's their fault. Like, beat me. Like, just go in with a positive attitude.
Actually, he'd asked me before we played it, he was like, oh, do you want the champion mat or the other one? Because he really wanted champion, and I think he was just hoping I would be like, yeah.
Just fold, and you're like, you know, I'm gonna earn it. I'm gonna take it.
I'm gonna play this. Like, whichever mat I get is the one I want to take. So yeah.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely about that. Yeah.
That's the one that's going to be more meaningful to you, right? And the other thing I was going to ask you off the back of that, you said that beforehand you weren't performing particularly well. You were often near the bottom, and then you've had this incredible run of this set championship where you've won, and then a string of runs in a row. I know that you did a lot of testing with Harlan. I know you, like, after you guys got together, you spent a lot of time playing one-on-one with him. Do you feel that benefited you as a player to get, like, just to get the opportunity to play more?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think before I was only playing, like, once every Friday, but then we play literally every day now. It's probably a bit sad how much we play. And sometimes I think it can make me feel a little bit down about myself because he's a much higher level than me, and so sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm always losing, like I'm not doing well, but then I'll go to like the league nights and stuff and I see how much I've improved because I'm playing him all the time. Put a lot of work into it.
No, and I asked that because, like, if there's people that are watching this video that are like looking to just get into Lorcana, would you say that was a big part of your improvement as a player, just going from playing maybe once a week to pretty much every day, just grinding games and against players that are very, very good, because that's how you're going to get better, right? Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And even sometimes, like, it can feel like you're not improving because they're beating you all the time, but you pick stuff up in like every single game. You notice things that you've done wrong, or like notice something that he's doing, and I'm like, oh yeah, why don't I think that way? Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
And you
A
just learn
good-
your own deck better too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
A good
I
friend
can,
of mine who's also a traitor because he is a villain, Mr. Burns, has said to me before that the best way to get better is when you play against somebody who you think is better than you.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Colorislaw was saying about playing against No, I'm Not. Like, if somebody else is pushing you, you're going to get better. So
100%.
maybe it's one time in a tournament, maybe it's 5 times a week because you hang out with the person a lot, but like you push them just as much as they push you, and it helps you level up.
oh yeah, and you definitely, and I know what Allie's talking about when you're playing against just like, you're just surrounded by good players, and you're like, I am terrible at this game. I need to set all of my cards on fire and find a new hobby. And then you go out into like the wild and you're just stomping people, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind. Like,
Can do it.
but like, yeah, but like, yeah, you get into your like little ecosystem, and like you're saying that you're playing with like Harlan all the time, and you're just like, but then you go play somebody else, and you just have all of these skills and knowledge that you just didn't recognize at the time when you were getting beat into the dust. Like,
Whatever it is that you want to do in life, surround yourself with people who are better at it than you are. And that's how you're going to improve.
I remember Rebekah saying this on her Instagram about her son. I believe his name's Caleb. She was saying how he would go to locals and like people would sit with him and play hands up, and then all of a sudden Caleb was beating those people, and like it was super cool for me to see on her Instagram because Caleb's a teenager and here he is stomping people.
Yeah.
I am terrified of young children in this game, though.
Yeah, there's some absolute superstars coming up through the ranks. I fear for the Lorcana players in 5-10 years' time. But that brings us nicely round to you, Rebekah, who, again, you've already talked about, like, obviously your connection with your son and, like, sharing Lorcana with him, I imagine is a very meaningful moment to you in your Lorcana career. But is there anything else that you can mention that you're particularly proud of, like, you know, for you, something like just for you that you can share with us?
Yeah, this is not going to be on the same as the other ladies have shared about
please.
playing, but I had a moment that was probably one of the most meaningful moments for me in this whole last 18 months of Disney Lorcana, where I was at the DLC in Seattle and I was in between doing stuff, and I met a couple of moms and their daughters there, and both moms were just like, oh my gosh, our daughters love you. And they were both of them like maybe around like 8, 9, 10, you know, like very young girls here at the DLC, like with their families. They had played in the event the day before, were playing in side events. And one mom in particular was like, I cannot tell you how meaningful it is for me to have you as a female presence on the commentary team, and how important that is for the young girls out there. And my daughter loves watching the streams of the DLCs because she sees somebody that's like her that she can look up to. And I was like, I'm gonna cry right now even talking about it. That it was like, and I think that, and obviously that's something that's very unique to being a part of the commentary team and in that space. But beyond that, I think that, you know, seeing like you ladies like topping at different tournaments and having women in the spaces so that other women who are adults, even not just young girls, see other people like them in these spaces. And I think that I just realized in that moment, especially, like how important representation in the TCG world is, and to not take that for granted, and then to keep making sure that all of us are continually like making the space for more women, you know, to be in this game. And I think that that's something that already we see in the Disney Lorcana community, that representation, you know, that's a very diverse community compared to other TCGs,
Sure.
But there's always room for more, you know? So, but that was a moment that I was just like, I'm so proud of, you know, that I had the courage to build this platform and get to the spot and like be somebody in this space that a young 8-year-old girl could look up to.
That is beautiful, and it kind of segues us very perfectly into the next topic that I'd like to discuss with you all. So again, brought you all on because you're fantastic players, people, members of the community. I've not had the pleasure to... Ali, I've had the pleasure to meet you, but the rest of you, we've not had the pleasure to meet, but I've seen you in the space, and I've seen examples of you all being good people, good members of the community, something to offer. So that's why you're here. But it would be remiss to not take advantage of the fact that I want to use my channel the best I can as a space to bring light to certain issues there might be in the community, or not even necessarily issues, but maybe even highlight the positives. I don't think it's controversial to say that TCGs has always been a male-dominated space. I don't think that's controversial to say. It's widely accepted, and off the back of what you just said, Rebekah, from what I've seen, Lorcana Community has done inclusion very well. Overall, very well. I've seen great things and women performing at really, really high levels. And like you say, having someone like yourself on the commentary team. These are all fantastic things. So I'm super proud. But I cannot speak from the experiences that you girls might have. And similar to what you said a moment ago, Rebekah, I've surprisingly, at DLCs, I've had a couple of parents come up to me to say, our little girl loves to watch your channel. I was as shocked as anyone, but I was like, hey, great. If she's having a good time, wonderful. So I want to, there might be girls that watch my channel of all ages that, could benefit from hearing what you have to say. Girls that have been in the space and have built up a degree of confidence in the space. So I don't really have a question here. I just want to really open the discourse for what it's like to be a female in the TCG space, with an emphasis not only on positives and things that have been good, but things that could potentially be improved upon in the future to ensure that Lorcana continues to be a welcoming and safe space for everybody. And I don't know who wants to start us off here, but just open platform.
I think there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. And the first is not being afraid to be yourself. Like I've mentioned a few times, like Lorcana is my first TCG. I came to play the game because I love Disney. Like I've literally never played a card game before. And I own that. And I was at Anaheim for the North American Continentals wearing mini ears for 3 days straight. And I could not have been more in my element wearing mini ears and carrying a Loungefly around. Like you have to do the little things that make you comfortable while you play the game. So for me, I don't go to a DLC or a competitive tournament without some element of Disney. Like, yes, I'm going to wear some Forbidden Mountain sweatshirt or jersey because I want to rep my team and my team builds me up and they support me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I'm going to wear ears if I want to wear ears, and I'm going to wear a Lady in the Tramp shirt because Lady's my favorite, or whatever the case may be. Like, you can't be afraid to be true to yourself. And if your opponent doesn't want to accept that, that's on them for being a crappy person.
Let them underestimate you and your Mickey ears, please.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Let them.
That's just it. Like, and the fact of the matter is, like, you're not going to win every game. You're not going to lose every game. And if you win and your opponent is pissed, like, or you lose, like, walk with grace. That is the biggest thing I wish people would do, is, like, don't be sour because you lost to a female. Like, I've had so many people just roll their eyes and stomp away. And if the round before, if the same thing happened, they did not roll their eyes and stomp. But because I have curly hair and I'm a female, they expect to just win.
Yeah, to your point, there's it's actually in a set champs recently. I kind of had an experience like that. So I played somebody in Swiss and I just rolled them. And they were playing Diggy Hole and I was playing Ruby Amethyst, and I just absolutely
kind of froze
rolled him, and he was furious. And sorry, my back. Hey.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you just froze for a moment. That was all. You were playing Diggy Hole. Yeah, he was playing Diggy Hole, and you rolled him. Please continue.
Yeah, and he was furious, like very verbally furious. And then I ended up playing him again and top cut, and he kept saying, "Oh, you just put a rogue card in your deck. It's just a random card, that you put in there." Rolled them again. Twice. And so now I've just kind of like learned, like, just let that fuel you. Like, let that be what you like. I'm running off of spite and Lorcana, and that's how I win. And so and I know that's not for everybody. That's not like, I know that there's like a lot of women there have a more gentler, kind of like softer approach. I've talked to so many women that are just like, well, I don't like, that's not who they are. They don't want to have to be that way. They just want to be casual. They want to have fun, and they want to like enjoy the experience. So I guess that's kind of what I would say is like, don't let someone tell you how to enjoy Lorcana. But if you are fueled by spite, go for it. It's just like, let it go for you. If you want to have,
let your hate fill you.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But it goes back to Melissa's point a moment ago of like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, enjoy the game the way that you want to enjoy the game. Like, if you're not hurting anyone else, if you want that competitive fire, have that competitive fire. If you want to be take it a lot more casually, that's absolutely fine when playing a Disney card game. Like,
maybe I've been, I don't know if lucky's the right word, but I feel like kind of my gender's never really come into it when I've played.
Good.
Yeah, I've never really had any negative experiences at all. Like, it's not really something that I've ever had to think about. I've had like the odd experience where, because my partner is a very good player, people often have made comments to be like, I don't know how to put it, but like, I'm only good because of who my boyfriend is, basically. And those like the first time that happened, it like really affected me, really got to me. But now, kind of like what Color said, now when people make those comments, I'm just like, yeah, okay, you think that, but I'm still gonna kick your butt. And yeah, but gender-wise, I feel kind of grateful that communities I've been a part of, it's never been a thing.
That's good. And again, it's important to highlight those positives, right? Like, from my perspective, there's been a lot of positives out there, but obviously I don't have eyes everywhere. But that's great to hear that your experience has mostly been positive. And again, similar to the other girls, having to get through that initial sort of hurdle of like coming up against an unpleasant opponent who makes a crappy comment, and maybe the first time you heard it got to you, it angered you, whatever it did, but you all say that you've gotten to a point now where your confidence has built up where it doesn't affect you in that same way. You can either just disregard it, or if your colour, turn into a Sith Lord and use it to fuel your hatred as you go into your next set championship, which is perfectly fine, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
hopefully like as the Lorcana community grows, there will be less of spite-fueled people out there, you know, like obviously that is not ideal, but
it's just part of who I am at this point.
Well, it's also kind of funny. I was gonna say, it's kind of funny because you see these things where people will say, oh my God, like, you're playing against this big scary guy, or you're playing against this really good player. But then you beat them, and all of a sudden everyone's perspective changes. Like, I've had males get so embarrassed that they tried to treat me lesser because then I just 2-0 them in a best of 3. Or because they see me playing against someone who has a golden Mickey. And they go, wow, like, you're competing with the big dogs. And my reaction is just, anyone can do it. Like, everyone has good days, everyone has bad days. Zach Bivens said it when I was at the Southside Gaming last month.
Bivens 2-0'd me. That day.
Yeah, he 2-0'd you, and then
there's no shame.
He just
But like the next day, Bivens made a point to say, I did horrible, and I'm going to have bad days.
He won't mind me saying
to that point.
He won't mind. I suck today.
It's just important for everyone to realize that like everyone has good days, everyone has bad days, and own who you are and just go in with confidence.
Yeah, when I very first started playing and at our league, I don't remember which round it was, and I ended up we went 2-1, I guess, because we were doing best of 3, and the tournament organizer came over and was like, oh, what was the record for you guys? Because he was like finishing out the round or whatever. And we were like, oh, it's 2-1. And he's like, oh, you won? Like pointing to the guy. Like, and I was like, why is that the assumption here that it was 2-1 between us and you assume that it was the dude that took the win? Like, and that I did let it, like, I had a moment where I was like, angry about that response, but I was like, you know what, like that's I'm not responsible for your perspective. Like I'm just responsible for me, and keep playing and doing as well as I can. The other thing that I see a lot of people say is questions around like, oh, why aren't women as competitive as men are? Fallacy, false, not true. Yeah. Being competitive has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. Like it's just some people enjoy more competitive play and some people don't. And I think that is a view that a lot of people have, though, not just men. I think a lot of women actually think that too, and that shouldn't that shouldn't be a factor. If you want to play competitively, do, and if you don't, then you don't, like the other ladies were saying. And I think that just supporting anyone in the community and whatever goals they have with the game is the best thing that anyone can do to continue to make Lorcana a welcoming space. Cool. And not assuming that it's the guy that's winning.
I do think I will jump on that quickly, because that is a small thing that I think someone could take away as a thing to improve on. Perhaps someone's done that, but they didn't mean it maliciously. But it's just something that they've taken. But it's worth bringing up, right? Because it's something that someone might hear and go, maybe I have done that in the past. And it's something that you can be aware of and hopefully fix in the future. Like, I think it can be the same, like, even if it's male, like, if I've got a friend in the room who's playing a tournament, and I go over and I sort of like do, oh, do you win, yeah? That's a bit rude to the person who sat opposite them. Like, I know this is my friend and I don't know them, but it still feels a bit cringe and rude, right? So, like, guy or girl, maybe just don't do that. Don't walk over to a game and assume that
and make an assumption. Yeah.
Unless you know both of them and you have that relationship where you can go in and you can be like that. But other than that, maybe that's just one thing that people can take away and maybe learn from. So I'm glad that you highlight that for sure. One other
thing.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, one other thought I would say is there are lots and lots of people in the Disney Lorcana community who I think are very intentional about listening to the voices of women and non-binary people in the Disney Lorcana community, and I so appreciate that. And I think that others who maybe can look to those people in the community that are out there asking the questions and listening, like yourself, having us on the podcast to talk about this even is so important. And that even just that one small change for somebody to say, I'm going to listen more to these voices that are different from mine, to hear about their experience and learn from that, I think goes a long way. And that's really the first step for anyone.
I was going to say, finding an outlet where you're comfortable talking, I think is really huge. Like when I first started going to locals, I was really intimidating because I didn't feel that I was good at the game. And so like my boyfriend Ben and I would go to locals together. And a lot of times the first round we would just play each other because it was casual. And obviously as time went on, that broadened. And then eventually like I found a bunch of Discords online, and one of them, which I think all four of us are in, is the Love to Lore Discord. And like it's intended for females from marginalized genders as a welcoming community. And they want everyone to feel welcome. So like maybe you don't have a local group you talk to all the time, or outside of your 3 friends who you play Lorcana with, but like it's a shameless plug for females who are looking to talk to other females, because let me tell you, when set champs are going on, it is blowing up in there with everyone's success.
One of the things that really stuck out to me in terms of like just like help in the community is there was a situation in Vegas that I had. It was identified to me at the time as I didn't know what happened, but it was terrible. But it was later identified as like the person was being kind of a shark, and they were kind of being a little awful. And I didn't know the terms for it. I didn't know what happened. I just kind of was like, this is what, like, I don't even understand what happened to me. And a couple people were like, oh, well, don't let it get to you. And it was very like general advice, like, don't let it get to you, or like, you'll do it better next time. And you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything to me right now. Cause like, so I actually reached out to R&B and kind of like a couple of guys on the Maelstrom team. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I want to know what to do when this happens. I don't want to talk about my feelings. I want to, like, have actionable things that I can, like, this is what I do next time I come into contact with. And it was great because, like, you know, he was a Magic player. He's this, he's that. He's very, you know, accomplished Lorcana player. And I got the chance to talk to him, and he was like, this is how you handle it. This is what I would do. It's happened to me. And this is kind of like what I've learned. And so, and in that point, I was like, oh, like, it might have happened a little bit more because, like, I am female, but at the same time, dudes do this to each other too. Yeah. So, like, it's just like having that TCG experience and, like, unfortunately, just like kind of talking to people and understanding and feeling like, okay. And again, that's like what the Love to Lore is really good too, because you're not alone, you know? Other people are trying to exist in this space too, and it's always nice to reach out. But I did want to kind of say that, like, I would say, like, as of like a bunch of people that I've met, like, the Maelstrom team seems to be very dedicated to, like, making sure that everybody feels comfortable, and they've proven that to me, like, several times. So, awesome. Like, if you want a group of women and Love to Lore is good, or if you feel like you want other teams too, like, you know, there's a lot of people within the community that are very dedicated on making sure that we feel like we belong. You know?
I would always recommend, like, check out as many of the spaces and content creators as you can. Find the ones that resonate with you, that you feel comfortable with. Like, yes, I like this is my tribe, and then find their communities, because they will have them. And I think that's a nice point to, like, sort of end this chapter on, is if there are young girls that are watching the channel right now that are just getting into Lorcana, want to get into Lorcana, maybe they have, but they've been put off by an unpleasant experience. We've got some great advice here. Make sure that you be your authentic self and don't be afraid to be your authentic self. And whether that's because you want to wear Minnie Mouse ears or because you want to let the hate flow through you, you let it flow. And yeah, about finding spaces that you can feel comfortable in learning from, in, like, venting, and like Color just said, like, actually finding actionable responses to things. Like, it's lovely to have people say, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, don't worry about it, pat on the back. That's all lovely, but it's not productive. So find those spaces and those people that you feel comfortable going to and saying, hey, this happened to me, how do I avoid it happening in the future? Any final thought on that?
It's so important to have your moment to decompress and, like, reflect, and also your moment to vent. Like, I can talk to my friends who don't play TCGs and complain about the bad hand I had, and they don't understand it. But I can talk to anyone on this call or anyone on the Forbidden Mountain or really any of my Lorcana friends. And if I want constructive feedback, they'll give me constructive feedback. Or if I want an outlet to listen, they're willing to be that outlet to listen. And so if you're jumping in as your first game, or just someone who wants to be in the Lorcana community, however you find that outlet. Like, don't be afraid to message us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of that. Like, we're all people. Like, the first time I met Rebekah, we didn't even realize who each other were. And then every DLC we run into each other now and say hey and catch up. So you make friends so easily in this community. People are so welcoming.
And just go. Yeah, just go, right? Like, just go, know that you do belong, and find the spaces that make sure that you feel that. Because, you know, the way that we feel accepted is important, but there is, you belong, so just show up.
Go where you are celebrated.
I was just going to say, like, every store might not be for you. I've been to several stores where I love going, and I've been to several stores where, like, the vibe just isn't for me. And so just because something might rub you as a bad experience, don't give up on, like, your dream or your interest. Try something else before you kind of just push it to the side.
We are right on the edge of Arcasia's Island. I'm super excited to get into set 7, and I'm sure all of you are as well. I've asked all the girls to prepare one card that they would like to talk about, that they're excited to play with in set 7 format. So let's mix it up a little bit. Let's be crazy and wild. Allie, I want to start with you this time. I'm sure you've been looking at set 7, and I believe you printed some proxies for you and Harlan to already start having a play. What's a card that you are really excited to get your hands on and play some games with?
I really want the 3-cost bell card that's like you banish an item so you can play it for free.
Okay.
I've tested against it a lot.
I bet.
Because
yeah, Harlan likes it. Yeah.
started early, so he's had these 3 bells for ages and like knew about them before it got released and was just wanting to talk about it all the time. And yeah, I just want my own now. I want to build my own deck with them. So I'm really, because it's a common, I'm really hoping tomorrow I've pre-ordered a bit, so I'm really hoping I get my playset tomorrow. Yeah.
And is it Sapphire Steel that you'll be running her in?
Yes.
Awesome. So we've got 1 vote for Belle, which most of the community agree is definitely one of the best cards in the set. A very exciting one. Rebekah, let's go to you. What's a card in set 7 that you're excited to play with?
1 card. It's hard to pick just one.
I know, right?
It's maybe... I don't know that I've heard a lot of people talking about this one, but the new This Is My Family song in Amethyst, I really love that card. Draw a card and gain 1 lore as a song. Yes, I will take it.
You know what I like about that card? It goes in the Ratigan deck. The new Ratigan, the 4 cost that needs actions to gain lore. It goes in that, so... I see you building a Ratigan deck, Rebekah. You can't get one over on me.
Ratigan's coming.
He's coming. Love that. LizardKitty, otherwise known as Melissa. What's a card that you're excited for set 7?
There's 2.
Okay, go on then.
So the problem is there's a character favorite and there's I want to put it in my deck favorite. So character favorite is new Lady Miss Park Avenue. Because Lady and the Tramp is
your favorite.
Lady is my favorite. I've been dying to see a Lady card since forever, and we finally got one. It actually got revealed when we were at NACC, and I wasn't watching the stream, and somebody just texted me and goes, "Oh my God, there's Lady!" And I walk into the upstairs room where like Pack Rush was going on. And like TFM Dan and Ben and a bunch of other people were over there. And I'm like, guys, Lady. And they're like, whoa, you're way too loud for up here. And I'm like, no, Lady was revealed. I don't care. And there was just so much excitement.
And she's good. And she's actually good.
Yeah, she's really interesting. Like, she's a 4/4. She quests for 2. And she brings 2 cards back to your hand. Like, that's pretty solid. The one I'm actually excited to play is Giant Cobra, Ghostly Serpent.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing Amethyst Steel pretty religiously in set 6. I think it's just a natural upgrade. I'm not sure what the rest of the deck looks like, but 2 lore and banish like by discarding a card just is very powerful. Like tag team it with the card Rebekah just mentioned, This Is My Family, and now you have 3 more lore out of nowhere.
Oh, we're cooking. Look at us up in here, Will. We're building the decks of tomorrow. Love that. And finally, Colour. What's a card that you are excited for set 7?
So I have to, Allie said Belle, and so I am probably definitely joining our Sapphire Overlords in set 7. But a card that I'm sorry. A card that I'm just absolutely ecstatic for and that I'm going to cram in a deck and force is the Enchanted Kingdom Hearts Donald. The one that I am.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I want that card to work so bad. I know that there's going to be a deck that plays that in because it's hysterical. It is the funniest card I find. Like you just think and you play. Obviously it dies and they win the game and then you cry. But I'm going to put it in a deck. It's going to be in there and I'm going to be so excited about it.
The Duck Magician.
Such a fun card.
As soon as I saw that, I was like,
Wizard Donald.
Yeah, well, please give us Daisy as the Dark Magician girl in next set. They have to. They have to. Like, that's such a missed opportunity if not. But that is a beautiful enchanted. Yeah, a super fun card. I like those answers. A nice mix of from the most meta to, a little bit of spice in a fun deck. So love that. Staying on the subject of Lorcana, but away from the cards and more towards organised play. You've all had a degree of experience now as players, and Rebekah not so much as a player, but as a caster and a presenter, you've been at every single one. So, you are just as informed as anyone else on this. This is the feedback part of the podcast. If there's something concerning Lorcana organised play, and that's set championships, DLCs, whatever level you're passionate about, something that you would like to see changed or adapted or improved upon in the future. And we'll go back to our original order and start with you, Melissa. So if there's anything that you would like to see adapted or changed in organised play for Lorcana.
I think the biggest thing, and this comes from my background as being a technical project manager and someone who's usually very organized and on top of things, is a bit more consistency in the schedule. I know they're doing their best. I know they communicate when they can, but like, I want to be at events, and to be at events, I need to take time off work. Or to play in set champs, I need to clear my weekends. And like set champs, we can kind of predict because more or less they're every 3 months. But we don't know when the next like Disney Lorcana Challenge circuit is. We don't really know what's next, and some sort of visibility of dates just to know would be really helpful, because the worst thing that happens is we all find out and then plane tickets are really expensive and we can't take off work. And like the Disney magic is having the community there. Like, to me, that's what made Anaheim so special.
Personally, I mean, I echo that with the communication and a little bit more scheduling, but I would like best of 3 DLCs. I would. I know that would just be a logistical nightmare, but I need it because best of 2 is hard.
Never into a DLC, so I don't really feel like I have much to say here. The thing I have that I want to say is maybe a bit controversial, but
let's go.
Let's
go.
It's actually kind of they've already kind of clarified it.
That's
but my thing was there was a store champs that I went to that only people who had been to the league nights were allowed to go to. Like, it wasn't publicized anywhere, so a lot of my friends weren't allowed to go.
Private guest list.
Yeah, and it kind of felt a bit, I don't know, it felt like it was been a bit sneaky, and I wasn't about that vibe. So I'm glad that they've kind of clarified that they can't do that anymore.
I have so many things.
That's fair enough.
But 2 things that I will focus on, though, are for the DLCs in particular. One is I believe that the North American Championships was the first time that they did multiplayer side events. I don't know that there was multiplayer side events at any of the other DLCs that I can recall.
So we had
it was just Atlanta.
And just Atlanta? Okay. Yeah.
It was Atlanta and Lille, and then it disappeared.
Oh, and then it disappeared. Right. So anyway, I hope that they bring multiplayer back into the mix of things for side events, and maybe someday they'll even do like competitive, like that'll be an official event, do bigger event, I think would be great. But I think multiplayer is such a fun format and way of playing Disney Lorcana. If they ever start doing more competitive multiplayer, that will be my villain origin story.
Let's go. Let's go.
I love multiplayer, and anyway, so that's one thing with side events, and but I think other than that, the side events I thought were all great and did well over the course. The other thing is not particularly related to play necessarily, but just seeing the DLCs be expanded a little bit more into what they offer as far as like other like Disney things, and for the people who are there as attendees and doing side events, that there's, have more artists, maybe have panels there of game designers or things, like doing little talks, like a mini con kind of thing. I think there's just so much room to expand the Lorcana challenges that we haven't seen yet, and I don't fault them at all for them not being this big yet, because the game is still so new, but I hope that it moves in that direction where each of these really becomes a bigger celebration of the game and the fandom around Disney and everything that Disney Lorcana has to offer to players, on top of the competitive tournaments inside of the DLC, that there's just more stuff. Give me more.
Just a bigger fan event so that it's not, so
exactly.
that everyone there can have multiple things to do, and it's not just about the 16 players that made day 2.
Yes, exactly.
There was something really cool about meeting Mickey Mouse at NACC.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Yes. I loved it. Did you met Mickey? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, so
The
my picture with Mickey. I think Villain, didn't you do like a whole little like
Mickey
stick
and
with
Minnie.
Yeah, and it was so impromptu as well, because me and someone were on a break for X amount of time. We were told, oh, Mickey's in the so-and-so room now if you want to go and catch him, because they were giving out the cards that he was signing, the Mickey Mouse ones, right? So I get there and it was empty, just Mickey and his like 3 handlers. And obviously I've got like my media badge on and everything, so I went in and I said, oh, I'd like to meet Mickey, and is it okay if I do some filming? And they were like, oh, that's fine. And I went over to Mickey and I was like, okay, long story short, I'm here as one of the casters for the event. He's looking at me like... and I was like, my whole thing is like, I'm a villain, I'm the bad guy. And would you mind doing this thing where you like use magic on me and you slay me like I'm a villain, and you're destroying me? And I expected him to say no, but to my great surprise, he went. So his handlers were watching, and we got it filmed. And if you go on my Twitter, I've edited it in post, and well, not me, a friend of mine, shout out to Lewis, has added some effects with fire and magic and all that, and really brought it to life. But before that, it was just a video of him going like that and me leaping backwards. But we got the video, and then I went back to work and came back to that room maybe 2 hours later because I was looking for someone. And Mickey like tapped his handler and started pointing at me, and the handler came over and said, "Oh, Mickey would love to see the video." So I took it over and showed it to him, and then his handler was like, "Would you send that to me?" So there I am, airdropping this video of like Mickey attacking me. Well, I attacked him. He defended himself. Fair game, boss.
Right.
Yeah, fair game. But that was super cool. But like, I agree with you. Like things like a panel, karaoke. Give me some Disney karaoke.
Absolutely, yes.
Disney, like a cosplay, like a Disney Lorcana cosplay contest.
Yes.
Like,
That would be good.
So many things.
We're all dressing up anyway. Give us a Packer suit for it, you know?
Like you could do Deep Trouble with like 4
yeah.
players
Do
and like
your
put it on the big
Illuminier's
screen
Quest.
and do a whole thing. I'm right there with you. So just more chances to enjoy this game that we've all fallen in love with, basically, and celebrate Disney. The 2 more topics to talk about. Let's talk about Lorcana art. Some of the greatest art in any TCG. I'm sure I don't need to convince any of you. And we have some beautiful Enchanted, and we have a beautiful set of DLC promos. If you are in charge of choosing one card, I'll tell you what, I gave the Maelstrom guys 1 card and an honourable mention. So it would be rude to not offer the same to the ladies. So one, like, your main choice and an honourable mention, what card are you turning into a DLC promo? Let's start with Melissa.
I would probably pick Elsa the 5th Spirit.
Nice choice.
She is she's Elsa, and Frozen is a very established, loved brand. She is a queen, not a princess. But her ability is so powerful. She has rush. She has the ability to tap something down, and she's evasive. So she sees a lot of gameplay. And so I feel like it's a loved character. She's a queen, and she sees play. Would be really awesome.
Yep, good choice. And your honourable mention?
Maybe the Merlin Goat, just because I love Merlin Goat, and it's so iconic.
Zenulus gave the exact same answer last week.
So we already got Dragonfire. And I would say like Big Sisu was like something that I was like, oh, I'd love to see that. But at the same time, like I already get like a really insane thrill when I cast a Big Sisu. Like I don't need it to be beautiful because like the card speaks for itself. But like I feel like this is gonna be very, very weird. But like I feel like nowadays when you cast Be Prepared, it's like a weird, like, okay, tap 7, be prepared, move on. You know what I mean? So I want a new Be Prepared promo because I want that, like, joy of casting that card again. And instead of people rolling their eyes when you, or singing. Yeah. I know, the singing is definitely, but I wanted, like, instead of just, like, casting the card and throwing it in the discard, like, I want to cast it and everybody stare at it for a second and just, like, really, like, just get into it again, So I would say, like...
I knew there's a reason I invited you here, Colour. You talk a lot of sense. You seem like a smart woman. I'm just
saying. I mean, I'm wiping my board too, but at least let's look at it. You know what I mean?
Hey,
let's stare into the card a little longer.
Board.
It's our
Be
board.
prepared is actually about community.
Our board.
It's about community.
Yeah. See, we figured it out.
Good choice. And your honorable mention for a second one?
I will take any Baymax promo that Ravensburger wants to make. I would just keep making Baymax, and I will keep collecting them, please.
Nice. There you go. I think we've had a hint as to what you're when we get to the Disney fandom part of the episode. Over to you, Ali. What's your choice if you could choose a DLC promo? Who is it?
My card feels a bit silly now.
There are no silly choices. None.
I would choose Anna Braving the Storm because it's
my
favorite card, and I want to add it to every deck I build. But I keep getting told, no, it's not that great of a card. But I'm like, no, it will be. I'll make it.
Let her play. Let the girl play her Anna. For the love of God.
So yeah, I would like that, please, very much.
If you see Allie Sweete in the wild, just say, hey, you letting your girlfriend play Anna yet? I want to normalise that, and we'll peer pressure him. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's a great choice. I think she's very themic as well, and she's I know not everyone's into this. I know not everyone's a lore geek like me, but that card is super important to the return narrative because obviously she becomes entangled. So really nice choice. And a second one, an honourable mention.
I hadn't really thought about it.
See, these girls don't need two choices, lads. Like they were happy with one. I'm forcing second ones out of them.
Yeah, no, just
two Annas, two different Annas. Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
And Rebekah, what card are you picking?
I'm also only giving one answer because it's the right answer.
There we go.
Okay, we need Ariel Spectacular Singer from the first chapter.
Good choice.
Thank you.
We really do. And the fact that she hasn't had like a set championship card or an event promo, like alternate art, is just a tragedy. So we need a more spectacular singer.
I agree. She's a pretty legendary part of set one, right?
Yeah.
The Bonnie altar of that card is beautiful.
Oh, I haven't.
It's so good. And then we were on the plane and she was like, how am I going to alter this card? It's absolutely gorgeous. And I was like, put a teeny little Sebastian in it. And so if you look at the altar, it's like, it's this gorgeous card. She did such an amazing job. And over the side is a little teeny Sebastian conducting her. And she did a phenomenal job. It's very pretty.
That's lovely. I love that.
Great choice, Ariel Spectacular Singer. And the final topic for today's super stacked podcast, and again, thank you all so much for your time. We're all Disney fans here, so a bit of Disney fandom. I think we could kind of guess the answers to some of these questions based on the conversations that we've had so far, but let's just wrap it up in a nice bun. Start with you, Mel. Your favourite Disney film, favourite character, and favourite song.
So favorite movie is Lady and the Tramp. Shocker, I know. Favorite character is Winnie the Pooh. Okay. There's just something about him, and he's great.
He's adorable.
And
just say he's adorable.
And favorite song, I would say "You'll Be in My Heart" from Tarzan, Phil Collins.
Very nice choices. Color, character, film, character, song.
I had such a hard time with this category. I went through a whole existential crisis when I was trying to figure out. It was awful. So I kind of ended up with varying degrees of different movies, but I guess going from when I was younger, I have two, I guess, but Aladdin and Hercules are my kind of classic. Nice. This is what I grew up on, this is what I needed, and everything else like that. So, favorite character, it's Baymax. It's always Baymax, which is, my thing. I tried to think of what's my favorite female character, and I will say Moana is a really good one.
Good choice.
And then I Megara from Hercules because she's very
She's
I
a
don't know,
girl.
she's like one of
She's
the
girl
first-
boss. She's the original
Yeah,
girl
like,
boss.
you know, like being young and watching that movie and watching like Snow White, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not the type of girl that's going to sing to forest animals. That's just not me. But Megra was like sarcastic and funny and
strong.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that
really,
Snow White wasn't strong, but like it's a different
no, it's
way,
strong in
right?
a different
It's-
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
different.
of course. Yeah, just like delicate strength versus like her more just kind of like rough around the edges strength, I guess.
Yeah.
And so those like the two different the dynamic between the two. But yeah, and then it's 2 songs, but it's like
Cool.
the Powerline songs from Goofy Movie.
Yes.
That's
They're so
absolutely
good.
They
Oh
are
my
good.
god. Like there's
The whole
they're-
new sound album, their version of Eye to Eye, is
Yes.
like a regular
Oh my
on
goodness.
my-
It's
on my shuffle
so
list.
great.
It's great.
absolute bangers, but yeah. Yeah. Those.
I find it really hard to pick favorite film. It changes all the time, but right now I'd probably choose Lilo and Stitch or
Okay.
Moana.
Yeah.
Favorite character is Anna. I love her. I find her incredibly relatable in the second film when she's overthinking everything. Love her. And my favorite song is Reflection from Mulan.
That's beautiful. That entire soundtrack, Mulan, is just first class. So nice choice.
Real quick, before
on.
you pivot to Rebekah, I
Yeah.
just saw news on Facebook that Anna Braving the Storm is getting a signature card, and it's being given out at, it says here, it looks like World of Disney, New York Disney, and California. I don't know if maybe it'll come to the UK Disney store also, but that seems really cool.
Fine. I'll
The
go,
World
I'll
of
get
Disney,
that.
that's
If it
here in-
exists, she'll get it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Good timing.
Oh, we
as
need
well.
more of the signature cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super cool. There you go. This was perfect. It was meant to perfect. It was perfect. And finally, Rebekah Quests, your favorite Disney film, character, and song.
Also had an existential crisis. I can't pick favorites.
I get it.
You know, it's
get
just
it.
it's
understand.
impossible. I have favorites from every like Disney era, you know, like The Sleeping Beauty. I love Little Mermaid was like my childhood movie though that I grew up with that I loved. But as far as like recent, Encanto is actually my favorite of like the more modern Disney animation.
I rewatched
films.
that last night.
Everything
for, like,
about
the
it.
10th time since I've seen it. It's
Yes.
super good. Yeah, it's super.
It's
rewatchable.
beautiful animation, wonderful characters, the storyline, the music, everything. It's just so good, and it makes me cry every time. So I love that one. Character, Ariel's my favorite, but I also thought of my favorite like non-princess like character, and I have to give shout out to Kristoff because he's like the best man in Disney animation.
Oh, I know.
He really is.
Oh, so good. Like
So good.
Kristoff.
coming back. Yeah, he like comes back
Yes.
after not seeing her, and the first thing he says is, "What do you need?
What do you
And-
need?
Oh,
That's the best. That is the
There's
best
something
moment.
just super
Yes.
warming about that moment.
yeah.
Right,
Yes.
Write this down.
Yes.
Welcome, lads. So, when I was younger, the one that I would hear all the time from my female friends that they thought was like the sort of crush character was Robin Hood.
Yes.
That's the
he
one
was
that I
my-
used to hear all the time. Like, oh, he's so charming.
That is accurate. Yep.
Yeah.
And then song I couldn't pick. I know. Anyway, so I decided to go with just one of the songs that I think is like one of the most epic Disney songs, and that is Circle of Life, right, from The Lion King. And if you've ever seen The Lion King on Broadway, like the production, it's just
Oh, yeah.
incredible.
Best Broadway show ever.
Made me cry the first time that I saw it, just seeing that. I think there's just something really special about that song. That whole soundtrack is pretty banging.
Yeah. What a chat, ladies. I want to say one more time, thank you so much for coming on. I want to wrap us up because this has been such a good chat and I want this video to stand a chance of doing well in the algorithm. So to take us home, could you please let the people know where they can find you, whether it's Twitter, Discord, whatever your socials are, Instagram, where can people find you? We'll start off with Mel.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on X/Twitter, Facebook, Discord, all of that. LizardKitty, I'll give you the links and you can throw them in the video.
I am only on Twitter or X or whatever, and I am just at Colorislaw1 because I didn't plan ahead, and so there's just a 1 at the end of it because I didn't think it would matter. And yeah, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, just Twitter is Colorislaw1.
Excellent. And Allie?
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter at the minute, Allie Sweete. We'll hopefully also be on YouTube in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey.
On our events.
Nice.
Axiom will be the first one, so go subscribe over there as well.
Yes, let's go. When you've got that channel up, let me know, and I'll make sure to put it in this video description and plug it and all that jazz. And Rebekah, where can people find you?
I'm Rebekah Quests everywhere, and I'm primarily over on Instagram is where I do most of my content. I'm on Blue Sky, and I hang out in a bunch of different Discords. Definitely check out the Love to Lore if you are a person of marginalized genders. It's a great Discord, and I'm in a bunch of other Discords as well. So many great communities. Yeah, connect with us, all of us.
And that is it. A fantastic chat with these ladies in the community. It's been a really long episode, so I'm going to wrap it up. But yeah, this being especially long, I imagine the algorithm is going to not push it that much. So if you've enjoyed this, please interact with it. Hit the like button, comment down below. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.